All right. Good evening. It's nighttime here. I just arrived in Taipei. This is day one of my trip. Technically, I guess it's day two since I'm here in Southeast Asia. Because of the time difference, I basically lost a whole day during the travel. So I came in, I landed in Tokyo around afternoon, and basically had like a 2 hour layover, and then got back in, caught another flight, and came to Taipei. I'm recording this video because I just want to show what it's kind of like when you get a pretty good amount of jet lag from traveling, and kind of what to expect when you get the jet lag, and some of the things that you should focus on when you arrive at your location, because I think like this is definitely a big part of the trip that gets left out, is talking about this feeling, the jet lag feeling, just being super tired and not being able to really focus out well once you get to your location, especially if it's like a whole new city, and if you don't know anybody, it could be pretty tough. So yeah, so came in today, this in the evening in Taipei, landed, and then luckily one of my friends that I knew from before was actually nice enough to come to the airport to pick me up. But over here, when they say, "Oh, I'm going to pick you up at the airport," they don't actually mean that they're going to pick you up with a car. That means that they're just going to show up and you guys are going to like taxi back or take a bus back. I guess that's one of those cultural differences that gets I guess lost in translation. The word picking someone up doesn't mean the same thing here, because a lot of people don't even drive. So that was pretty interesting. Anyways, yeah, so came from the airport, came into town, found the place that I'm staying at. It's basically, this is like a hostel slash hotel kind of. Basically, they have this whole section, this building that's dedicated to hostel, and where they have shared rooms and dormitories and like a common area, and they also have this separate building which they have private rooms like this one here, this tiny room that has a bathroom and basically a bed, where it's if you want your own privacy and be able to sleep better and have the comforts of that, they have that option as well. So that's what I went for. It's a little bit more expensive. I think it's costing me somewhere around like $40 a night to stay here, versus the hostel. I think it was like probably $15 or so for a common room, or for a dormitory, and somewhere around like $25 for a private room with a shared bathroom. So yeah, came in here, checked in. Definitely temperature wise, it is really hot here during this season. I think tomorrow is supposed to rain. I'm not sure how that's going to really affect the temperature. If anything, it's going to probably be worse because it's so humid. But definitely just coming out of the plane, you could just feel like your pores open up and start sweating, and it's really interesting the effect this has on you when you're used to like really temperate weather, like in Los Angeles, or a lot of places in North America during this like kind of spring season, or spring going into summer. It definitely takes some adjusting, and it's been interesting to see how my body is reacting to this heat and how tired I feel already. But I'm sure I'm going to adjust after a couple of days. I'll get used to it. Definitely, I think that wearing the right clothes, like wearing shorts, sandals, and a t-shirt, is probably the best way to go in this type of weather. So I plan to do that starting tomorrow. Yeah, so got in here, checked in the hostel, and then went and grabbed some dinner with my friend. Just so, it was my first day here. I don't know how to speak the language or anything, and my friend was nice enough to, basically take me to a local place and took care of all that stuff, and it was just really nice to have someone to do that for you. But again, you can't expect that if you're doing this whole traveling, working, digital nomad thing. A lot of times you have to be self-reliant. But if you do know people around the world, and you happen to go to the same city they're in, or they live in, it's definitely, I highly recommend it, especially for the first day, to just get yourself used to things. It's really nice to have that. So right now it's about like 10:30 Taipei time, and I think it's like 10:30 p.m. Taipei time, so it's nighttime, time to go to bed, and then it's 7:30 a.m. LA time, so pretty huge time difference. So I'm definitely feeling that confusion in my brain about the time. So I'm hoping that I could go to sleep soon, and be able to wake up tomorrow around like 7-8 o'clock, since it's Sunday, and that way I could get used to things faster and kind of line myself up more with the time here. So yeah, that's basically an update on the trip so far. My first impressions about Taipei is it's definitely similar to Thailand if you've ever been there. If you haven't been there, it's basically a lot of like smaller stores, like definitely really small, busy streets. I guess the typical thing that you picture when you imagine Southeast Asian country, except here that not all areas are like that. There's definitely areas when we're driving from the airport coming in that have some pretty nice, clean, major infrastructure. Kind of like bigger streets. Everything just looks newer compared to Thailand. Everything is just neater. So definitely they're very, very modern. But then they also seem to have like these more traditional things that you would want to see in one of these type of Asian countries. You could kind of see like how it used to be back in the day. Is still, there's a lot of traits of that still. It hasn't been completely modernized to the point that you can't even recognize like the traditional things. So I'll definitely have a lot more to say on that as I experience everything. But definitely the first impression I get is it's somewhere between a traditional Asian culture and scenery and places to eat and all these things, and then also with modern infrastructure, and a little bit more order than somewhere like Thailand. So the topic, I think when I shoot these videos, what I want to do is kind of do like a little update on my trips, and also give little pointers and hints based on my experience, so everything is more topical and something that you guys could take away from it. So one thing that I tried to do while doing this trip was I tried to, as soon as I got on board the plane in LA, I tried to figure out what time it is here in Taipei, and try to align my like internal clock with that. So basically what I mean by that is like I looked at the time, and I think it was towards the evening once I boarded the plane on LAX. It was like Taipei time, like evening in Taipei. So what I noticed was that a lot of people that were boarding the plane they seemed like they do this a lot. People that maybe live in Asia, and they travel back and forth between Los Angeles and Asia. A lot of them went to sleep like immediately, and I looked around. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Why is everybody doing that? So when I looked at the time, I noticed that it's like evening time in Asia, like in the Taipei and Japan time, and basically I figured that it might be a good idea to try to go to sleep as well. And so that way I could set up my internal clock to start synchronizing with the time over here. And so I tried doing that. It kind of worked. I think I got a few hours of sleep in the beginning, but honestly, what I figured is that even if you do that, you should just basically try to sleep as much as you can once you get on board on the airplane, because even if you get like, let's say 7-8 hours of sleep, it's not going to be the same quality of sleep that you'll get being on a nice comfortable bed at home. So I think that that's a good idea in theory, to try to synchronize yourself with your destination's time right away. But in reality, the quality of sleep is not going to be that great. So I would just try to sleep as much as you can, so you just build up as much energy as you can um, while you're up in the air. So that's number one. That basically what I'm trying to say is try to get as much sleep as you can on the plane, so you have some energy, because the trip is going to drain you, the time difference is going to throw you off, and so the more sleep you get, the better off you're going to be. My initial impression was to try to synchronize myself, but I think that is better in theory. In reality, it's not that straightforward. The other couple of advices I have: when you immediately get off the plane at your final destination, there's two things that I think is very important, crucial to do right away. Number one is go to the nearest ATM machine, and if you have the right type of checking account set up already that doesn't charge you any ATM transaction fees, then just go to the nearest ATM machine and pull out a decent amount of money for your first few days of travel. So that's what I did. The first thing I did is I spotted an ATM machine before I even saw my friend. Before I even started looking for my friend, I just looked for an ATM machine and made sure to pull out money before I do anything else, because you want to have the currency and have that purchasing power right away. So number one, do that. Number two, usually at most of these airports you land to, if it's a major international airport, they are going to have the SIM cards available. So hopefully you did your research and figure out what type of SIM card you want to get. And what I'd say is just go to the carrier that you've chosen, and that hopefully you have the plan in mind that you want to get, and just right away get the SIM card at the airport, so you're going to be connected immediately to all your stuff, everything online. And then you could start using Google Maps, you could start using Uber, and all your different tools to get to your destination. So yeah, those are just some of the advices I wanted to give, as far as when you on your very first day when you get to your location, and also on the flight. I think that I want to definitely talk more about acclimating. I think it's a very important topic to cover, and as I'm going through the process, I want to kind of talk about what's going on in my mind, and kind of explain to you guys how I'm coping with it and what I recommend to do to cope with it. So far right now I'm feeling pretty tired, and I'm ready to go to bed. So I'm gonna definitely do that right after I'm done with this video, and I plan to wake up tomorrow around 7-8 o'clock, so I can start syncing my internal clock with the time over here, and then yeah, we'll see how that goes. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.